Welcome to San Mateo County Today. Conversations with government leaders throughout San Mateo County. Here's your host, Linda Morrissey.
Hi, welcome to San Mateo County Today. We are delighted to have on the program today Steve Wagstaff, the District Attorney for San Mateo County. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on the program.
We're thrilled to have you here. I'd like to jump right in. We don't have a lot of time. Before we talk about the District Attorney's Office, I'd like you to share with our viewers a little bit about yourself and your journey to the becoming District Attorney.
Well, I'm a local kid, grew up in Menlo Park, live in Menlo Park to this day, and went to school, and sort of what got me interested in being a prosecutor. It's a little vignette. My father was a local attorney in this county for 56 years, doing civil law, and when I was 13, 14 years old, and doing like kids that age, no job, what do you do in the summer? He said, ride your bicycle to the courthouse, and I would ride the courthouse. And he said, just go into the courtrooms and watch the courtroom. And I did. For 2 summers, I spent a lot of time where I watched murder cases and robbery cases, and I thought, this is better than Perry Mason. I reveal my age by saying that. But this is better than Perry Mason, and that got my interest. And so I went away to college at the University of Notre Dame back in Indiana, brought my wife back with me, and went to law school at Hastings Law School in San Francisco. Came down here as an intern to the District Attorney's Office back in 1975 and never left. As I joke with people, I've never held another adult job other than being in the District Attorney's Office, which I'm now completing my 37th year as a prosecutor in San Mateo County.
Wow, that's great. That's a great story. You have a very large agency with many responsibilities. So we're going to show the org chart for your department, and I'm wondering if you can walk us through the different parts of it and their responsibilities, and maybe a little bit about how they interact with each other.
It is. It is a growing department because I do have about just under 130 employees, and a staff of that includes on that 130 about 56 attorneys, prosecuting attorneys, which in California makes it a mid-sized office. In addition to that, I have a structure. It really falls into several divisions. The key one being, the one that everybody would know about, would be those 57 prosecuting attorneys that handle all the prosecutions for San Mateo County. That means from Daly City, Brisbane, all the way down to Menlo Park and East Palo Alto. We have all of the coast is in our county. Everything that occurs out at the San Francisco airport, even though that's owned by the city and county of San Francisco, any crime out there, that's one that we prosecute because it's in our territory. Right. And we have on the coast right down to poaching of inappropriate things out of the ocean down to Ana Nuevo and down there. So it's a wide swath that covers a lot of different varieties of crimes. And this group I'm describing, we receive probably about 24,000 cases a year. That does not include traffic tickets or things like that. That's just felonies and misdemeanors.
Wow.
It is. It's bigger than most realize. Although I say that with the caution that we are one of the safest counties. We have the second lowest crime rate for just about any county in the state of California. And so it's a very safe county. I don't want people to be alarmed. But we're an urban county with 730,000 people. So they're going to have crime. And the way my office handles that is, of course, I have a second-in-command chief deputy, Karen Guadati. She's been in the office for, I think she just crossed her 31 years in the office. So we both have been around a long time. And we divide into, I would call big segments. And I think that's relevant to people is we have the attorney division of the office that does the in-court prosecution day in and day out. People might be familiar with that, law and order and things like that. But what else we have is extremely important to the community. Number one, I have an investigative bureau. I have a group of 15 investigators that are sworn peace officers. And what do we do that the police agencies aren't doing? We look at things such as any time there is a claim of governmental corruption or vice. We look into that. The police agencies don't. By law, we look into any time that they're a small agency that may not have the resources or the experience. If you're dealing with small agencies like a Colma, Broadmoor, at times East Palo Alto, we provide a great deal of help to. It's to supplement them and help them out, as well as we deal with child stealing cases for the county. We are experts in dealing with the Vienna Treaty and Geneva Compact and getting stolen children back from across seas and anywhere in the country. Wow. And so it's a wide variety of things, and it's also if there was ever a claim of any misconduct by a police officer we investigate that.
I see.
Anytime there is a police officer in this county shoots and kills an individual in the course of their duty, we do the investigation and form the opinion about whether or not that was proper or improper conduct. So that's that division of my investigators. They also do, I should mention, we do an enormous amount of insurance, workers' comp, and auto fraud, because there's plenty of that out there. I also have a group I'm particularly fond of because it serves victims, and I particularly care about victims of crime, and that's our victim services. We do that for the entire county. We have the single victim services division in San Mateo County, where I have a group of men and women who are there helping victims get reimbursement for their losses, to help victims with going to court, giving rides, being there to help them through the trauma and stress of going to court. And they're a very hardworking group of people who serve the entire county there too. And then I have the usual divisions. I have a great support staff of men and women, as well as I have an IT division that for all our computer work keeps us working, so that I don't have to try and call my son to come fix it for me. Our IT division can take care of it.
Right.
So those are our primary divisions. Now within that, of course, when one looks at the attorneys, of course, I have as most DA's offices do, I have specializations of divisions. And so to that extent, I have prosecutors who specialize and do nothing but homicide, who do nothing, a different division that does nothing but sexual assault. Another division that deals with domestic violence and working with our battered spouses and partners. We have insurance fraud prosecutors. So I have people who are specialists, and where gangs, of course, is always a constant problem. I have prosecutors in the gang area who go to the schools and they become truly experts in it, so that unlike when I was coming through the system where your caseload included everything. So you were a master of many, an expert in none. Now we have a lot of specialization to deal with those cases that we deal with.
That's great. Wow. I had no idea. So you mentioned that we have a very low crime rate in San Mateo County. That's wonderful to hear. But I know there are trends. So what are let's talk about the trends in crime. What types of crimes are increasing, and what are we doing about that?
Well, what I think most of your audience would know is that overall in the country, the overall violent crime rate is substantially down.
Yeah.
It is at its lowest rate, I'm very happy to say, probably in 30 years to 40 years and that's great. But it doesn't mean we still don't have it. Right now in San Mateo County, we're prosecuting, I think the number is around 27, 28 people for murder. And that's, again, it's not compared to my counterparts over in Alameda are probably at about 200, so we're certainly far less. But those are serious cases that take time, but that's been fairly steady. Most of these are steady. The one that I'm very disappointed is steady: domestic violence.
Really?
That has, we established our experts in that, a team in that, in 1994. And I wanted to say that, it's gone dramatically down because of the efforts and all of say. No, we continue to have those crimes occurring, and it's a very sad thing. We continue to hold the line, but we work with all our partners, we work with the community, and the big thing for us is making sure that it's predominantly women victims, that they know they have a place to go. But so where are we seeing an increase? What we're seeing more of? Fraud, and fraud on elders. That's an area. We're an aging community, just look at me. It establishes that we're all aging, and it's just one aspect. They're very trusting people out there, some very trusting victims, maybe not as skeptical or cynical as one can be when one's younger, and they are prime time targets for elder abuse. And so I have, right now I have 2 people who have specialized and are trained in it, an investigator, and they both go out and are constantly speaking to the public and to elder groups. Maybe the greatest function, because we'll prosecute the people who take advantage. I'm going to give you an example of a brief one. There was an elderly woman down in Menlo Park who was just sitting downtown, and this fellow came up to her. He was a parolee, said he was homeless. I need a place to stay. Can I come stay with you? And this nice woman, who was in the beginning stages of moving into dementia, said sure. And he moved in. She was alone, a widow. Her children would check on her now and then, but he moved in and he just took advantage of her. Moved his own girlfriend in, started writing checks, ripped her off. We just convicted him at a very hotly contested jury trial early this year and sent him to prison because he was a three-striker. He got sent to prison for life and richly deserved it for that. And so that's out there, and that's an area that is increasing, and we're devoting resources to. We have other things, though, that are, I would say, we're not seeing as much of, and I'm glad. The biggest one, and it's really not to do with us, I don't want to take any credit for it, but things such as drunk driving. Drunk driving's way down. And it's because the community said. There were great organizations like the Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. Yeah. You know, we're down to, but you would sit here and say, well, what's down mean? Well, 25 years ago, we were prosecuting in San Mateo County about 9,000 cases of drunk driving a year. And today we're prosecuting about 3,000 to 3,400 per year. And that's because it's no longer acceptable. The community said no more. And that's really what happens when one looks at trends. The community says we're not going to accept that anymore and get excited about it. So those would be the areas I would say I could certainly see trends and things happening in. Our gang problem, because of, I think, an excellent law enforcement agencies in this county who bind together to have a gang task force and do wonderful work. And they keep that down. I mean, it's always going to exist. And I'd like to say the gangs in this county are not of the, I'm pleased to say, not of the sophistication and criminal enterprise that perhaps out in the Valley or LA do, where they're running drugs, guns, and women. And in this county are shootings that occur, which are all horrible, even ones too many, tend to be more over anger at each other, turf, colors, and that usual nonsense that exists.
Got it. Actually, a great segue for my next question. Earlier this year, did your department deliver the largest criminal indictment in San Mateo County history related to the Sunny Day gang case?
Yes.
So we want to hear about how that happened, but first, we'd like to look at a clip, a Penn TV clip, earlier in the year, and what you had to say the day of the arraignment.
Good morning. I'm Steve Wagstaff, San Mateo County District Attorney. This is a special day. I'm pleased that you're here to join us for this. With me today are the San Mateo County Sheriff, police chiefs, command staff of our police agencies, our federal partners, the people who worked with us from Mountain View Police Department and other locales. Because what has occurred, and what I'm describing for you, is a joint collaborative effort over the course of the last 18 months at attacking a serious problem in East Palo Alto. Last week, after 2 months of grand jury proceedings, the San Mateo County Criminal Grand Jury returned 3 indictments charging 16 people with a series of crimes that included murder, attempted murder, dissuasion of witnesses, conspiracy to murder, drug trafficking, illegal firearms possession, a serious set of crimes that's occurring in our county. These crimes, which we're focusing on, became an investigation that lasted 18 months. As I said, it involved all of these law enforcement agencies behind me, and it became labeled Operation Sunny Day.
Quite an achievement to have that happen.
I had some men and women do unbelievable work. I remain amazed at the quality of work and the effort they gave it, and continue to give it as we prosecute it.
Great. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'd love to hear more about it.
That's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, welcome back. We're talking with Steve Wagstaff, the District Attorney for San Mateo County, and he's going to share with us now a little bit about that Sunny Day case.
It was the biggest case this county has ever dealt with, and it was 18 months, but it started like just a little acorn, because what happened is there was a homicide in East Palo Alto at the end of 2012. And 2 of my inspectors were helping the East Palo Alto Police Department, doing whatever we could, and they started noting, you know, there was a phone recovered. There's phone information here, and that's what they started doing. They're both very high technology people. They started mapping phones and getting phone numbers of people, and realizing, wait, we've got calls here to this one, and then it attaches to another murder case, and that started the investigation, and it really became unbelievable as to what happened, because it was in East Palo Alto, and we had 3 gangs at work there, 2 versus 1, and it was truly executions going on here. And the reason it got ultimately, because this is a case that's not made on informants in the jail. It's not a case that is made on eyewitness testimony. That's not it. This case is made almost entirely on something that didn't exist 15 years ago, and that is the use of cell phone mapping and wiretaps. And all that, and it's been a phenomenal investigation. As I said, we did a wiretap. We set up a wiretap room here in the county where we listened in on their phones of all the people involved for probably almost a 2-month period. And we stimulated the wires, as they call it, and that's referred right out of the Wire TV show. What that means is we would go, you'd do a probation search, and we'd see what they're saying, talking like that. And it produced a case where we do have, as was noted on the clip, 16 people, 9 of whom are charged with murder, 4 separate murders, and of the term sunny day was labeled sunny day for this reason.
Right.
In listening in on jail phone calls, because some of these murders were ordered from our jail, from people we had in custody on other matters, and they ordered them in. And they tried to use language, their own code, but we didn't have to go find some World War II cryptographers to go and try and break their code. But one of the phrases that they used when the word would come back, there was a woman who was sort of their conduit, who we've charged, who would come back and do a visit, and they would say, yes, it was taken care of, the matter was taken care of. And their phrase was, when there was a successful hit done, it's a sunny day in East Palo Alto. Wow. That was their phrase for success. It's a sunny day out there, and that's why it was labeled that operation, because that was their code phrase for the evil that they were perpetrating. And it really was purely evil on that line, with innocent people being threatened and harmed by that. So, dramatic case working its way through our system.
Tremendous collaboration between various agencies, I imagine.
Never had it to that level before. We're a very collaborative county. Our police agencies work very well together. Not all counties can say that. This one was at a level it's never matched. So my office and East Palo Alto PD, we didn't have enough of the resources. So we had at various times over, I think it was well over 100 different police agencies. We had federal partners helping us, the FBI, the Homeland Security, all the other, every agency in our county, every single police agency in our county to make this work and man those wires, because those are 724. You have to be listening under very strict rules. I had 2 prosecutors. That's all they were assigned to, was to work that. A very exciting case, and success level of it, well, at least off the top. We'll see as the case winds through. But off the top level, I was talking to a reporter from a paper in Palo Alto who lives in East Palo Alto, has lived there for 20 years. And her comment to me a good a month or 2 after we arrested everybody was, you know what, for the first time and the entire time she's lived in that community, she did not hear gunfire or ambulance or police sirens through the town. It's quiet. Wow. And all that, and that's a good thing. Then we know that we had an impact. I've talked to many of ministers there who work with the youth, and their comment was, thank you, because there's plenty of great young men and women, but they can get tainted by these gangs, and to take them out, they were happy. So,
and where does the case stand now? In terms of going to trial?
It's called, the criminal justice system at times can be thought of as a very slow operating machine, and that's certainly the case on these. It is, all 16 people are charged and running through. We have an additional 7 people we have added charges on because they committed at the grand jury, they perjured themselves to protect their friends, and we've charged them with perjury because we're not going to let that happen. But all the cases are at the stage of going through preliminary proceedings. No trial dates have been set yet. Okay. We will certainly have trial dates still being evaluated. These cases, many of these cases are potentially capital cases, and so we're working through to determine if there are any of those where we will seek that.
Great, okay. Back in 2010, when you, I think, had just been elected district attorney, you said that the primary goal of the DA's office prior to 2000 was punishment. And since then, it's been more focused on reform and reentry of convicted criminals. is that indeed happening?
Yes, it is. It's realignment. That's how they call it, the California Realignment Act. And it didn't come about due to altruistic reasons. It came about because our prisons were too full, and the 3-judge federal panel told the governor, get them down. So they started sending the people back, saying, you keep them in the county level. And so now the most serious people still go to prison. Your rapists, your robbers, your murderers, they all go to prison. But what we're doing now is for people, we're trying to get them into drug treatment. And I think so far, it's 3 years in. This month, we're 3 years in. I think that it's working so far. We're still testing it. Our crime rates, we're not suddenly having an explosion in crime. There is an increase in property crimes going on throughout the state. Car thefts, burglaries, that type of thing. Whether it's attributed to this, that's a sociologist to figure out. But yes, I do think so, because we're doing things. I go to all the graduations in our the court has a lot of specialized programs to trying to help addicts, people with mental health problems, and I go to their graduations and I hear repeatedly that, you know what, we're trying to change lives and having some success with that. I'm feeling good about it so far. Just this past week, the governor came down to meet in my office with all the criminal justice department heads, and he asked us that very question you posed. Is it working? And I think our uniform comment is, so far, I think because we work so well together, we think it is. Mm-hmm. And it's a dynamic change.
That's good news.
It's a good one. I think it's a good one. We're helping people.
Great. Another thing you said in that interview was that you wanted to continue to try cases, even at the district attorney level. Have you been able to be in the courtroom as much as you'd hoped?
No, not even close to how much I'd like to do. I mean, that's how I started out, and I haven't lost that. I did try one murder case in 2012. I spent 3 months trying a murder case that was successful, of a fellow who had strangled his girlfriend. But and I'd like to do more, but what I do find is that in this position, it tugs at a lot of directions. So I do get to court because, as I say, I try to get, if I don't have a meeting, I try to get into our specialized mental health court and our specialized drug court and be our DA representative there to show how important it is. And it sends a message to both my troops and to the courts that, yes, this is important because the elected DA is taking time away from meetings to do it. So I'm trying to do that, and I do continue to hope. I'm about to start a second term, and I am hopeful that I can find a case where I can go back into the courtroom and use some of those skills that I was able to develop over the many years.
Great, great. What are the major objectives then you mentioned in your new term? Do you have major objectives that you hope to carry out in your next term?
We do. We have a couple things happening. One of them is not quite as dramatic as in other areas, but we have been working, and we hope to launch after the turn of the year a formalized case management system where we will go paperless. Where the police, it's a dramatic step, where my lawyers will go into court. When I did my last murder case, I wheeled in a cart that had about 15 binders of police reports in it. In the future, my lawyers will go into court with a laptop. And everything there.
No more 8.5 by 14 legal pads.
Precisely, and so we're making that, and it's where the police will not bring us police reports. They will send us police reports electronically. I know the world's going that way. That's going to be a tremendous change for us, and everybody's working very hard on that. We hope to bring that about. That's going to be a great change for this office and make us more efficient and just really create a better office to serve the community. I want to, as I said it before the first time, my goals before I started my first term included, I want to increase our victim services. And I have done some of that. I've had some success in that with the help of our Board of Supervisors giving me positions. I want to do even more. There is more we can do to help victims, keeping them informed. Every time I hear from a victim, somebody robbed me, but I never heard what happened in the case. Mm-hmm. And I would be interested. I want to have an information flow, and I'm hopeful we'll be able to do that with some help of some people younger than me, so we can set up good Facebook and tweeting and things so we can let our victims and witnesses know what our situation is to make for a more efficient system.
Got it.
I also want to keep working on something I did say for the first term that also matters to me, and that's environmental prosecution. We had not had a specialized environmental prosecutor. I created the position, and we just took in a couple weeks ago a $300,000 settlement for somebody who had leaky gas tanks and was destroying soil, and that shoved us in these 4 years. So we've collected in environmental fines over $2 million for fines and sanctions for people that are damaging our environment, and that's important to me. That's a thing that I really want to focus on. But my number one goal in all is dealing with helping victims. I know that there's so many other services to help the people who commit the crimes, and I'm happy for that. but victims who are treated better today than they were when I started. There's still a lot more we can do, and I want that to be, they matter to me the most.
Yeah, it's very clear by what you've been talking about, that it's the victims. Obviously, crime prevention is the ideal, right? What other, you've mentioned a few things already, but what other types of things are your office doing around education or outreach or intervention to prevent those crimes from happening in the first place?
Do a great deal, particularly with the youth. You know, that's our best shot. We do, and everywhere works, but everybody knows working with our youth, and we're working with the police agencies. And in San Mateo County, we've had, I think, some phenomenal success in dealing with our youth on intervention. To that extent, 5 years ago, 2009, we were prosecuting per year approximately 1,800 juveniles for various criminal acts. And after 5 years, in 2014, we last year prosecuted 900. That's progress. Now, that doesn't mean that the crime's going, part it's crime going down, but it's also part of, rather than taking them into the system, working with police and our great probation department, we're doing a diversion of services, getting them into programming, giving them that. But I also work very closely with all the police athletic leagues. We work with the Sheriff's Athletic League, because it's very clear to us, it's give them things to do. And I know on a personal level, I'm the director, I'm the chairman of the board of directors for the Redwood City YMCA. And I work with them because they do such great work with youth. And that is, to me, where we're going to have our success. Not to say we give up on people in their 20s and 30s, but we realize our best hope for success is stop them before they commit it. And that means activities and helping out on that line.
Great, great. One last question. Your brother Jim is a highly respected and well-known litigator in the Bay Area, like yourself. Your older brother Jim, right?
Younger brother Jim, but thank you for saying that. I will let him know that was what you thought.
Okay, well, anyway, I still want to ask the question. What's the best advice he's ever given you?
You know, surprisingly, I do talk to him for advice a lot. He's somebody I trust because he has a good common sense about that. Best advice he ever would have given me, which is is to remind me when I run things by him, never do anything because it feels good. Do it because it will achieve a goal. So in other words, I can sit there and I can yell and get angry about something or say, you know what, this is silly or that, and it's just don't. Always have a goal for everything that you do. Don't take an action without it. And but I give him the same advice when he runs his things by me.
And that was my next question.
We do about that. With him, I try to say, remind him, because he's in private practice and he has a very good private practice, and I always remind him, and I think he adheres to it, do it because it's going to help, not because it's going to bring in money. Don't do anything for money. When we finish, that's the great part about being a district attorney, that I tell all my young prosecutors when they start, and I keep reminding them that you are in the best career that there is. We are the best type of lawyer to be. And that is because I will finish whatever time I am done with this job, 37 years so far, I have never once stood up on my feet and argued something in court or to a group or said on a show that I didn't believe in to the nth degree. Defense attorneys don't get that luxury. They have to defend their clients no matter what. Civil attorneys, their job is to represent their client. Not do anything unethical, but represent them. DAs, our charge from our client, the people of the state of California, is do what's right. And what could there be a better job on the planet?
Oh, perfect. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fascinating to talk with you, and we hope to have you back in the future.
I'd love to. Thanks for listening to me.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time on San Mateo County Today.